Thank you.
Senator Cornyn.
Mr. McKinney, in the story you told about the two young children from South America, right, is certainly heartbreaking. How did they get here? Did their parents have to pay money for them to make their way to their border to the United States?
Honestly, it's Central American Senator Cornyn. I honestly don't remember, but I would concede at this point. I assume so. I assume
The cartels don't work for free, do they?
No.
I mean, they're the ones who are participating in the smuggling of people to the border, including these unaccompanied children.
Yes, as
parents or somebody's paying money to get them here. My point is, it is heartrending to consider the circumstances of those children, but let's say of the 300,000 children that are currently in the United States unaccompanied, are taxpayers supposed to pay the tab?
For their representation, Senator?
Yes.
It's AILA's position that the federal government should provide representation.
That's a taxpayer, right?
That is the taxpayer where the respondent is indigent. So we don't carve out children, although we appreciate and believe that all children should have representation. To us, to the American Immigration Lawyers Association, the key distinction is indigency.
Well, if the parents or an adult pays a human smuggler $5,000 to get him to the border, I guess you could say the child is indigent and taxpayers should pay for a lawyer, but it seems a little odd to me that the taxpayers should be on the hook for that. Let me just ask Ms. Gamble, I think there's just a lot of confusion about the numbers of people showing up at the border and what the different status is. You authored an excellent report called the Notice to Report and Parole plus ATD processes. What's ATD?
That stands for Alternatives to Detention, Senator.
Okay. So let me just see if I can summarize, and you can tell me if I'm close or I'm off target. So there are people who show up and they claim asylum at the border, correct?
Right, at the border they would be making a claim to fear, or they could be making a claim to fear.
And there's another category of people who show up who make no credible claim of fear, but who are being released into the interior of the United States under something called parole. Is that correct?
That's right. According to our report, for a period of time, the Department of Homeland Security was processing some individuals who were encountered at the border under a program called Parole plus ATD. So those individuals were paroled into the United States and placed into the Alternatives to Detention program, which is a program to monitor individuals who are not being detained and who will be in immigration proceedings.
And those are people who haven't made an asylum claim at that point, correct?
I think it was for individuals who were for whom DHS was making the decision to parole them into the country as sort of their processing pathway.
Yeah. And they're given are they told to appear at an ICE office or something for a legal proceeding, or are they just released into the countryside?
So when we issued that report, Senator, we were looking at the use of the Parole Plus ATD program for family units. And under that program, the head of the family, the head of household, was issued a notice to appear, which is the charging document placing that individual into immigration proceedings. And then the other members of the family were instructed to report to an ICE field office at a later date to then be further processed and get that notice to appear to be enrolled in immigration proceedings.
So those people haven't even started the process in the judge's court yet.
For individuals who have not yet reported to an ICE office, or for whom ICE has not yet issued a notice to appear, they have not been charged and thus are not in immigration proceedings.
And you're aware of the fact that the Biden administration has said if you come from 4 Central American countries, up to 30,000 people will be admitted each month from those 4 countries under sort of a under a parole program, right?
We are aware of that, but those parole programs were not the subject of our review.
360,000 people a year, potentially, right?
Right, we're aware of those programs, but those weren't the subject of our review.
Right. Well, that's really my point. There's a whole lot of different sort of buckets to look at here. Some people claiming asylum who get a notice to appear in front of the judge's court, people who show up and are told to go report to ICE in the interior of the United States and then to begin that process, even though they haven't claimed asylum at the time they're at the border. So the numbers that we've heard about overwhelming the immigration judges, their dockets don't even include those people who have not been given a notice to appear, the ones that you wrote your report about.
That's right. Individuals who have not been issued a notice to appear, which is the charging document, would not be in formal removal proceedings.
And eventually they'll end up, if they show up, which many of them do not, if they show up and actually do report to an ICE office, then you'd have to add those numbers on top of the numbers that we've talked about earlier that will be added to the judges and other judges' immigration court dockets, right?
That's right. Once they're issued a notice to appear, then they would be formally placed in removal proceedings and be part of the pending caseload for EOR.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Every chance I get. Senator Balch.
Thank you, Mr.